welcome back. Here is a project that I absolutely love. I've done it several times in the past, and I'm excited to introduce it to you and have it on YouTube so you can do this at home or with me, and we can make some really awesome art. So, Illuminated Manuscripts sounds pretty fancy, and they are fancy. So, Illuminated Manuscript, that is during the Middle Ages, manuscripts were covered with printed ornaments or decorations. So, as you can see to the right, here is some different letters, and they're decorated. There's dragons, birds, flowers, all kind. It makes me think of Game of Thrones, which you all shouldn't be watching Game of Thrones, but I'm just using that as reference of kind of that medieval-esque look. So what we're going to do within this lesson is we're going to create an illuminated manuscript that represents you. You're going to connect to the past, use their influences from the Middle Ages, from Renaissance. You're going to present it to your peers and respond of your illuminated manuscripts of your peers. So the bottom two, we're going to do that with our virtual galleries. So don't really worry about that. Today, we're going to focus on creating and connecting. So here's some key vocabulary words. I think it's really important to understand these words. So when we get going, it just makes all the more sense. I want to move my little icon down. Okay, so first and foremost, an illuminated manuscript is a handwritten book with painted illustrations produced in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. And then you may ask, what is the Middle Ages? Well, the term Middle Ages refers to the history of Christian and Jewish Europe between the fall of Rome and the Renaissance around 400 and 1500 AD. And script. You're probably thinking, what is that? Is that just like a movie script that you read for to be an actor? But as civilization progressed and the demand for books became greater, later works were executed by pupils of the Renaissance writing master who taught the craft to apprentices. So we didn't have printing presses. So, today you can go on Amazon and buy a book and they print it and they send it right to you and you get it in 2-day delivery. That was not the case in the Middle Ages. So what they did is that there was trained people, and that was their sole job, was to handwrite books so they could mass produce them. So often illuminated manuscripts would include decorative borders around the text. And see, we also got to think Middle Ages. Now everyone basically can read. At least we hope everyone can read. But in the Middle Ages, there was a lot of illiterate people, meaning they could not read. So these little drawings were always put in to the script to kind of help give context to what the paragraph or what the story was about. So here's some examples, some borders, some really, look how that's antiqued and very old and distinguished looking. And so here's another example. Initials or first letters of the chapter or paragraphs were decorated, sometimes very simple, sometimes ornately with a great amount of interlacing foliage and flowers. So I know that a lot of Bibles, older Bibles will do this. The very first word on the page will usually be very elaborate, or the first letter of the story will be very elaborate. And that's because most of these trained writers that had to reproduce these books were monks. So the first mass-produced book, believe it or not, this shouldn't be a shocker, was the Bible. So to mass produce it, monks would sit in monasteries and they would just create these beautiful manuscripts and produce them, and so they could spread the word of God and Jesus Christ. They would use miniatures, small pictures, to incorporate the text, and usually it would either do the whole page or part of the border. So here's some little miniatures that are integrated into their illuminated manuscripts. And the most remarkable example of illuminated manuscripts are those of religious Canaans of the Middle Ages. These full or partial page paintings from real pictures similar to frescoes or easel pictures. These are chiefly found very ancient or very recent manuscripts, 14th and 15th centuries. So as you can see, this is, I think, an old page out of the Bible, the first letter, very decorated. But present day, you've seen manuscripts and not even realized it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little glimpse into how Disney has used illuminated manuscripts. Oh, wrong one. Wrong. Oh no. Here we go. Fancy book.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there was a tiny kingdom. Peaceful, prosperous, and rich in romance and tradition. Here in a stately chateau, there lived a widowed gentleman and his little daughter, Cinderella. Although he was a kind and devoted father and gave his beloved child every luxury and comfort, still he felt she needed a mother's care. And so he married again, choosing for his second wife a woman of good family with 2 daughters just Cinderella's age, by name Anastasia and Rosella. It was upon the untimely death of this good man, however, that the stepmother's true nature was revealed. Cold, cruel, and bitterly jealous of Cinderella's charm and beauty, she was grimly determined to forward the interests of her own 2 awkward daughters. Thus, as time went by, the chateau fell into disrepair, for the family fortunes were squandered upon the vain and selfish stepsisters, while Cinderella was abused, humiliated, and finally forced to become a servant in her own house. And yet, through it all, Cinderella remained ever gentle and kind. For with each dawn she found new hope that someday her dreams of happiness would come true.
I let you watch a little bit more than you needed to, but you got the gist of the illuminated manuscript at the beginning. This one, Snow White, is a wonderful example as well. Look, even right there has a little bit of an illuminated manuscript with my sincere appreciation. Here we go, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Look at that beautiful illuminated manuscript. Birds. They have a lot of miniatures in there. Look at that border and the peacock. So, love that. I spent a lot of time showing you those, so I'm going to move on because this one will really resonate with you. This is SpongeBob, and I had a kid bring this up to me, and I was like, this is perfect. So this really just sums up an illuminated manuscript.
Okay, Mr. Essay, I say, prepare to be written. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Yeah. Yeah. In some of these. In some of these. Almost there. And done. Now let's see how it looks so far.
There you go.
Time.
Love that. Very.
Okay, Mr. Essay, I say, prepare.
I love it because it just shows you there's a lot of work that puts into it and it's still beautiful. So here, Illuminated Manuscript, you're going to create your own. So here is how some examples. These are some Illuminated Manuscripts. A piece, either borders, little miniatures, all throughout. These are student examples. So you can see there's little hidden things about each student, like even the flowers, the zebras, there's deer, antlers, a lion, sword, there's a snake. So there's a lot to see and a lot of hidden images. I love it. So these are the materials that you will need. You will need paper, 2 pieces. You need one for a draft and you need another for the final piece of artwork. You need a pencil and an eraser because you're never going to do it right the first time. You're going to have to be doing some tracing. Crayons must be crayons. You can't do this with color pencils or markers. It has to be crayons because we need to use crayons for the wax. You need black paint, washable black paint, and you may want to add a little water to it just to help with the antiquing process. You need a black marker and a paper towel to wipe away the paint from the waxy crayon. So here are steps. I'm going to move my little icon over. Oh, that moved easy. Okay, so we're going to create our draft first. So as you see in the top left corner, that is mine. So I used a pencil and paper to set up my artwork. You can make a 1 to 2 inch border on your paper using a ruler if available. You don't have to do a border, but I like it. I think it makes it look really polished. In the middle, draw out your first initial large. You can do it from your last name or your first name. I chose to do my last name. And I add a little style to make it pop and look really funky. Then you're going to decorate the border with different shapes and symbols, swirls, vines, flowers. Think about the examples shown in the border around your initial. Draw miniatures that best represent your life. Maybe think about hobbies, special events, holidays, family, friends, and so on. So I like to do hearts, so I did that and some ribbons. So it's whatever you feel like you want to do. It's your artwork. Use creativity and fill up your page. Can you see that I did that on my draft? The whole page is filled in. There's not really much empty space. So empty space is negative space. So pretty much the whole thing is jam-packed. Now, we have created our draft, and now we got to make our final. And to do our final, we're going to have to trace. So, but what I like to do, this is when the black marker comes into play on your draft. You're going to trace over your pencil marks with black marker. That just makes it easier when you put the other piece of paper over top of it that you can see your marks and you can easily trace. Using the new sheet of paper, trace the shapes using the paper. Color in your new paper with crayons. Make sure it's nice and waxy. This is not a time where you want to do it just a light crayon. You want it to look really, really waxy and leave space between the colors. So you can almost do trace around the black Sharpie or the black marker so you can indicate where you need to leave space between the colors. You're going to use crayon resist method to execute your artwork. And to do that, watercolor resist with crayons is a classic art activity. Resist means that the crayon will repel the watercolor from it. So watercolor will cover only the bare paper. So whatever you don't cover with crayon is going to become black. So if you notice, I have a basketball court at the bottom of my M, on the right side of my M, and there's white. The way to get that white is that you have to use a white crayon. So if you want